Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot. And really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Wednesday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe at Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. Syracuse loses a heartbreaker in the first game of the ACC tournament for them, 77-74 against Wake Forest. But the real news of the day was the announcement that the legend Jim Boeheim was going to retire. And a sad day for many, especially me, and probably worse for Joe, whose team not only lost in the ACC tournament, but lost their coach of 47 years as well. So he gets to mark his birthday with Jim Boeheim's retirement from here on out for the rest of his life. You'll hear from us.
Won't forget the 40th.
We'll hear from you in fan feedback. We got the montage. There's not a whole lot for me to say about this game. I mean, I'll say a little bit, I suppose. But the news of the day, obviously, Jim Boeheim comes on as a undergrad in '66, walk on the basketball team, and then obviously, I think everybody could agree, he's one of the best coaches to grace the hardwood. And today's it. Today was it. It was sad. Really sucks. Pretty surreal, if you will, I guess, since we all know Jim Boeheim is coach for our whole lives, most of us anyway. So, anyway,
Yep.
After the game, Coach did a presser, the last press conference as head coach. Let's hear from Coach Jim Boeheim.
It was a great game. I thought, Wake came out and double-teamed Jesse, which, we thought they might do. He made a good job, did a great job getting it out of there and passing it. But our defense was really good. It broke down a little bit when we missed. We had quite a few minute stretch starting the second half where we couldn't score. And I think it affected our defense a little bit. And down 12, these guys did an amazing job of just fighting back into the game. And even at the end, when it was 3 and Judah got the drive and Benny got the 3, to get the lead, we just couldn't get the stop at the other end. And again, I credit Wake Forest. They played a tremendous game, and I think they're a really good basketball team.
Okay, questions, raise your hand. Let us get the handheld mics to you. Let us know who you are and who you're with. Who is the first question to our left?
Michael Gross from Newhouse Sports in Syracuse. What was the play call on the last possession when Joe took the shot?
We're going to go high-low. Benny couldn't get it to Jesse. He tried. That was the play. And then we got it to Joe, and he had to make a play there. I would have liked to seen him drive it, but he thought that was the shot.
Yeah, hey, Jim, now that the season's over, people are going to naturally wonder about your plans. Have you thought about anything in terms of what you're going to do next year?
It's the university, as I've said from day one when I started working here, the university hired me, and it's their choice what they want to do. I always have the choice of retirement, but it's their decision as to whether I coach or not. It always has been. Again, I've been very lucky to be able to coach my college team, to play and then be an assistant coach and then a head coach and never having to leave Syracuse. It's a great university. The city has embraced our team. I am amazed that we've been able to draw the fans that we've been able to draw over the years. Steve told me before the game, we were just talking, he said it was amazing. The fans, last home game, nothing to play for. And there's almost 25,000 people there. And it's just, I've been just so lucky to be able to coach at Syracuse, a place I love to live. People keep wondering about that, but maybe that's a flaw I have. I've had 47 years. I got to coach my sons. 2 years ago, we were in the Sweet 16, and last year I got to coach my sons. I had a great team. I love that team. Jesse hadn't gotten hurt, would have done obviously better, but that happens. And then in the fall of that year, we recruited 5 kids and ended up being 6. And I made the decision that based on telling them I would recruit them, I would coach them. I don't know if I wasn't going to come back or not prior to that. I hadn't really decided. But when we recruited those kids, and I knew Jesse and Benny and Joe were coming back, and those kids, I knew we'd have a chance to have a good team this year. We were close. I'm happy with what we did. It's not that easy. The university hasn't offered me anything, whether to work or do anything at the university. That's their choice. It was great to see Mike Krzyzewski's at Duke and Roy Williams is at North Carolina, and Mike Bray is going to work for Notre Dame. That's great. I haven't had any conversations about that. I hope that we will. I think you missed it. I gave my retirement speech on the court last Saturday, and I gave it in the press conference afterwards, and nobody except William Payne figured it out.
So are you saying right now that you're going to retire?
This is up to the university.
You want to come back?
I didn't say that.
Okay, but so what are you saying? You're not saying you're retiring, but you're not saying...
I just said it. I don't know.
So you don't know? Okay.
I said this is up to the university.
And you're not sure whether you're... How will you make a determination about when you will come back?
You're talking to the wrong guy.
Okay. Thank you.
I apologize, but I'm just a little confused. Do you want to come back, or did you just announce your retirement without actually announcing your retirement?
No, I said it's up to the university. They have to make their decision, and it's up to them. I hope we can come to a good agreement, but I mean, that remains to be seen. All right? Is that clear? Clear as I can make it. That's as clear as I can make it. Okay? Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so look, as much as I want to talk about the game, not really, but I think I'll work backwards. Because the thing about this press conference, the thing that stuck out to me the most, and Joe, I don't know if you listened to it and if you listened to it close and watched it. Did you?
The game or
the press conference?
Yeah.
Okay. So Jim was about to leave the stage, and he had I assuming he had seen Mike Waters raise his hand or something, and he wanted to take that question. I don't know why or what was said, but he said to whoever was trying to usher him off the stage that, hey, I want to take this question. And so he did. It seems to me, if I were a betting man, and I'm not really, half-assed betting man, that he wanted to make it clear. I feel like he wanted to make it clear that it was up to the university. And I just can't help but think that there's something else there, that there's some issues there, and that this was inevitable. Now, look, I'll go back to the last press conference. I think it was the last press conference against Wake the last time around, when he had said something along the lines, you can't tell 6 people you're going to coach them and not coach them. We got through that. And when I kind of talked about it for a second, and I thought that was a weird comment, and then he did mention it again here in this press conference, and here it is, a retirement. I mean, he announced this thing probably 2 3 hours after the press conference, maybe something like that, something within 3 hours after the press conference. So he had known, he had probably known last week. He's been dropping subtle hints, I feel like, and maybe it's a case where he really didn't want to, and that maybe he was forced out, which I didn't think was possible, but here we are, and that's my opinion, and I don't know that for fact or not, but that's my opinion. So, with that said, Joe, this is a guy, and Nunes has it spelled out pretty good in an article today on his retirement, and I think this was James. I can't remember now, and I probably should remember that. Hold on a second, because I've got it pulled up. It is not James. It's someone else. His name is Christian de Guzman, I think. So anyway, 33 NCAA tournament appearances, 20 Sweet 16s, 7 Elite Eights, 5 trips to the Final Four, 3 championship games, one of which we won 20 years ago, right? 10 Big East regular season championships, 11 times in which the Orange finished top 10 in the AP poll, 28 times in the top 25 of the AP poll, reached at least 20 wins 34 times, 25 wins 19 times, entered the Basketball Hall of Fame in 2005, became the first men's coach to win an NCAA tournament game in 6 different decades. And like I said, one of the greatest coaches to ever grace the hardwood in Jim Boeheim, and an end of an era. Maybe a falling out. He mentioned Coach K being at Duke and Bray getting a job at Notre Dame. And so you can't help but wonder, Coach Autry's going to fill the shoes. We kind of speculated a little bit on that, I think, the last episode or the one before. But, look, what are your thoughts, Joe? I mean, it's your birthday. This has to be the most shitty birthday ever. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's your 40th birthday. This has got to suck. I mean, your 40th birthday's bad enough. Be happy you made it there, but I mean, golly, what a roller coaster of a day, because you get beat with, we get beat with a buzzer beater when 0.5 seconds left on the clock. It's over. You think before that shot goes up, I'm thinking, okay, overtime, because of what Joe did. I don't know what the hell's going on either at the end of that game, or what Joe's thinking, but that's unfortunate because the Boo Birds came out for him. But what was it like, Joe? I mean, what were you thinking? Were you like me and you're like, holy cow, is this really happening? Because that's how I felt. Is this really happening? Even though I kind of suspected it.
I mean, it just happened so fast in one day, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm not a big birthday guy. I don't like the attention. I don't really, care for it too much. But took the day off, relaxed, and watched the game. And, it definitely sucked. It was a roller coaster of a game because, the way they started, and then all of a sudden they're down 12 and they come back, right? So, I truly thought that it was going into overtime. But that kind of, a lot of games ended like that this year, so it didn't really surprise me, And honestly, I wanted them to make a little bit of a run or whatever, but it was like, okay, it's finally over. You know what I mean? Like, last year was a little bit worse. This year, younger guys, but I kind of knew that we weren't really gonna do anything. So, I was just kind of getting over just the crap of like, man, they couldn't even win on my birthday. Just give me an extra game tomorrow, is something, And then all of a sudden, this popped up, and then it just made things that much worse. So, not to say that I didn't necessarily expect it, but I just didn't expect it just like that, And it's all over Twitter talking about all the crap he talked about Greensboro. He lost his last game in Greensboro to a team/coach that he maybe misspoke and said they bought a team. We just beat them. So,
like I said, everybody's buying teams. So what he said wasn't untrue. It's just that he was made to walk it back because it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah,
it sounds like a hit, yeah.
And it does seem to me too like he did allude to like other coaches that they retired from coaching, but they still have like spots.
That's what I was saying.
That they're still part of the program, right?
Took a shot at the university, I feel like.
Yeah, a little bit, because he's going to live in Syracuse. He's still going to want to be part of the program, but obviously it's just he's not going to be the coach and everything like that. But he still wants to be part of the community, part of the university. Obviously, this has been his whole life. So I can understand his frustration. Really, I just I didn't know why it came out like that after the game like that, And then I started thinking about like the kids, you know what I mean? Did players already know? I'm assuming they did, right?
Had to have. Had to have known.
And you're gonna sit there in front of your players and tell the world that you're stepping down. I don't know.
By the way, and I do have the clip. There's some good stuff. Benny and Jesse were there, and I'll say this: that the interaction between Jim and Benny and Jim and Jesse during that press conference was just, it's one of those great moments, despite the loss, where coach is giving you a little bit of insight to some of the inside stuff, with Jesse talking about the main sports in the Netherlands being soccer and field hockey. He never even played basketball and, things like that. And I have the clip, but I don't know if we're going to have time for it. But just we only see one side of everything all the time. And this is not just our situation with coach, but just everybody's situation. As hard as coach is on these kids, somebody's got to be. I think coaches are father figures, mentors, and they're not supposed to just pat you on the ass and tell you everything's great, right? I think Benny, coming out of this year, is going to learn a ton. We kind of see what he's done towards the end of the year. And I mean, for crying out loud, what he did today, 11 rebounds, 18 points, 3 for 5 from 3, hit a couple clutch, at least 2 clutch. Oh no, Judah hit some clutch threes. Judah hit a couple clutch threes today, but Benny hit one clutch one towards the end there, that tied everything up. But you just get to see the interaction there, and you realize that it's not coach against the kids, even though sometimes it may feel like that. But he just wants what's best for him, and what he's done with Jesse and the things he said about Jesse, as far as probably being one of the most improved players that he's ever been able to coach. And that he's just scratching the surface of his talent and what he can do, because he hasn't been, the game of basketball hasn't been his thing, And Jesse just still learning the game and becoming more mentally tough. And Benny with he said he's helping me mature and grow up, basically, and become a man. And it's just one of those things where it's like it gave me the warm fuzzies, man. I ain't gonna lie. Okay,
it did.
I thought
especially
great.
Hearing from Benny, right?
Yes, majorly, because Benny was on the verge of tears when he was talking about the loss at the beginning of that press conference too.
Right.
And how much, and Judah obviously emotional after the game.
Quadir was too.
Quadir, what a freaking game for Quadir today, dude. He was awesome. He was awesome today.
Yeah, clutch.
Big time, dude.
Yeah.
He had a huge rebound towards the end of the game too.
They have a. I mean, if certain players, you get certain pieces back, and certain players don't transfer, and we get the Quadir and the Benny Williams that we got today, the Chris Bell that we got today, to some point, like, I will take that all day long, And as far as Jim talk, this is the second or third time I've heard Jim about Jesse in the past couple weeks, about how good he is, how much he's improved, and how he's just scratching the surface. So, I mean, Jesse has incentive to come back, and I really, really hope that he does. But all in all, I think the biggest thing that got me more or less was thinking, you go from wanting them to make a run, at lunchtime today, and then 3, 4, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, the coach is retired.
The season's over by 2:30, 5 o'clock. The coach that you've known your whole life is retired.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
and my phone was blowing up, man. Orange fans coming out of the woodwork to text me about it. Like, okay, guys, I know. I'm not going to be the guy on Twitter going, oh, guess what happened? Like everybody else. Everybody tried to be the first one to rush to Twitter to be able to announce that. Brent X.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday. I hope you're taking the news well from guys from work, right? Like, I mean, It's just the loss was bad enough, and then just have to deal with that, and then know that we don't even know what to expect now. Like, what's going to happen this offseason? What's going to happen to the recruits?
The one recruit.
No, I mean, but we have some signed in 2024 as well, and of course, I hope that they've talked to these players about the fact that Jim wasn't going to be there at that point, and it won't matter. But either way, this offseason is going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Just the biggest thing for me going into the offseason is obviously, who stays. You got to imagine with a guy like Coach Red, and someone who's been there and has, obviously developed a relationship with these kids, that there's a pretty good chance a lot of them stay. And I think if they don't, it says a lot just about things in general, kind of, and we'll see. And with with how emotional Judah was, I mean, you're going to get emotional in those situations regardless whether you're coming back or not. But, you got to wonder big time about Judah, and I think Benny's probably as solid for coming back. Chris Bell's kind of up in the air for me. There's a couple of them that are really up in Jesse. A lot of them are up in the air for me, to be honest. Besides like a Quadier and, some of these other guys, John Bull, we didn't mention last episode. They're going to help him find a home, because he tried earlier in the season or last year or whatever and couldn't find a home and didn't find a place he liked. And so they're going to help him find a place. But, without Jesse,
he deserves it.
Yeah, he does. He's a big time spirited guy. You love those, no matter what they're doing, really, honestly, the way, same thing with what Quadier did 3/4 of the season, just being a cheerleader on the sidelines and just keeping the positivity and the energy up, and all of those things make such a big difference, man. If it makes a difference for me watching the game at home, it's got to do something for everybody else on the court. You know what I'm saying? It's just, absolutely without a doubt. So, I feel like it's a blow. I was hoping to. I really had a feeling that Coach was going to be done. I think this year. I just didn't. I wanted another year. I was really hoping probably next year, but I think we all knew deep down it was coming. And I'll tell you, I think there's people who wished it gone that probably have a little piece of them going, man, I hope this works out, because, not for anything, Coach is a safety net. He's someone who's, it's just a solid, kind of like a warm blanket, man, and it's our whole lives has been the guy. And now we are here we're left with blood. We're left with orange blood coming in, and someone who knows the program well. But what does it look like? We talked about this last episode. Is Coach Red going to keep the 2-3? Is he going to do something else? Does he have a game plan for it? I imagine he does, but is it going to just be the same thing, but with Adrian Autry at the helm? And it's just a lot of questions.
We don't know, right?
We don't know.
Because there are, there's some of those fans that's what
they hated about Boeheim,
right? It's not necessarily, it's the 2-3 zone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even necessarily Boeheim as much as it's the 2-3 zone in some of it. So that's why we talked about last podcast. Like, I'm wondering how big of a leash, Red Autry's going to have. And it's not like he's handing him a team that just went to the Sweet 16.
Well, that's the other thing, too, for me, is that, unfortunately, Coach has to end on a loss, like you mentioned, in Greensboro. But, in the ACC tournament and really not doing anything else. And that's sad to me. It's kind of like how Buddy ended his season last year, or his career at SU last year. And just like, sucks. It's not storybook. Not everything's perfect. Not everything works out. Not everything is going to, be the way we want it, just in life in general. In 47 years and all the accomplishments that Coach has and everything that he's done and the legend that he is, he's got to walk away from it like this. Past 2 years have been probably his 2 worst years, especially back-to-back. I mean, geez, I don't think there's a question about that, but, it sucks. You want to go out on top. At least make a run in the ACC tournament, for crying out loud, and have some dignity. But, Coach K did, he obviously had a good season last year, but he ended it losing to UNC 2 times in a row, right? Wasn't it like that? Didn't he lose to UNC the last 2 times he played them? Once in the ACC tournament and then once in the NCAA tournament. Isn't that what happened?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. And the last game that he played in the Dome, Jim Boeheim won. The last game Coach K played in the Dome, they got beat by UNC. So, so it was definitely a regular season game, and then I think a postseason game. I just don't remember what it was. But they lost their last game at Cameron Indoor to UNC at the end of the year. Coach K did. So not everything's perfect, man. It's just unfortunate. We all wanted a little bit more. I think that's fair to say. Anything else, Joe? I hear from the fans on the final thoughts of the season. We got a couple comments in the green room. Do we?
I mean, I would just say that, minus this loss and everything in today, I'm glad that Saturday happened.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That was at least something to get those fans and to have those fans be there. Those fans didn't even know that they were there watching Coach Boeheim's last game.
Nope, no idea. And he had the
ceremony,
national championship team out there,
yep.
right?
Yep. Yeah.
Got the jerseys up there. So I mean, there were some positives, obviously, and we have a young team and everything like that. And I think that there might be some people might look into Judah crying like that and being that emotional because they don't think he's coming back. But it also could be a situation where he knew that it was Boeheim's last game, and with the momentum and the confidence from Saturday and playing, beating Wake Forest and from Mello and the 2003 team and all that stuff, could have been a combination of things where he just, they were hoping to go on a run and they just didn't. So, if those kids knew that was Boeheim's, that he was retiring, then I can understand why they're upset that they didn't get a W for Coach.
Yeah, well, unless you win, I get it, and I agree. I'll leave it at that. Let's do this. Last time of the year.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House.
All right, guys, you know what to do at the end of every game. I ask for your thoughts on the game. Well, this time I did ask for your thoughts on the game, but bigger news, bigger things happened, and so I asked for your thoughts on the end of the season. And we kind of gave you ours, and so let's hear from you. And you guys in the green room, if you've got anything to say as far as the end of the season goes, please chime in. Top fan, David. With the talent level of this team had, I feel like it was below expectation. It really highlighted that it was time to move on and make changes. It was an absolute privilege having Boeheim as coach, but the time has come. Well, when you look at 47 years, right, and in the last two seasons that he's had, you almost wish, but you don't want to, but you almost wish he had gallivanted around like Coach K doing a freaking celebratory retirement tour, but we know that's not our coach. Our coach is not like that, right? But for Duke fans last year and for UNC fans, Roy Williams didn't announce till the end of the season. So for Duke fans last year, they got to ease themselves out of that season. For us, and some of us maybe knew it was coming or felt it was coming, but it was an abrupt pullout, so to speak, for lack of better terms, from Syracuse. And, I guess that's just it. It's the shell shock of it for me. But yeah, I mean, we didn't know. The talent level of the team is one thing, but the experience is another. And yeah, they're talented, but they just don't have it all to put together and play to be real contenders every game. And that's just kind of what it is. And that takes nothing away from the talent of these guys. We've all seen huge individual efforts across the board from these guys. From Justin Taylor to Benny to Chris, all these new guys. Judah, obviously, almost every single game.
Quadir, Malik stepping up.
Yeah, Malik Brown.
Non-conference games to actually coming in and helping playing big minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it. All these individual efforts, unfortunately, just was never packaged. Well, I wouldn't say never, but it wasn't packaged together enough times to make a big difference in the grand scheme of things through the season. So, and I didn't have many expectations coming into this year, but I'm always optimistic. I just, from doing this show and being wrong so many times, I just stopped having expectations and talking about them, right? So
I was talking to a buddy at work, West Virginia fan, and he's a little bit older than me, so he remembers the Big East and everything. And he used to always say, you asked me, like, what happened to you guys? And I always looked at Syracuse as a blue blood. Like when we were in the Big East, I never wanted to play him. Jerry McNamara, I hated that guy. Just as a West Virginia fan, right? But he was talking about how his team, and he all year has been saying they suck. Well, West Virginia's kind of, they're in the tournament at this point. They've been on a roll, and he told me that Bob Huggins was basically quoted saying that look, I got a whole bunch of transfers that I didn't have to coach them how to play basketball. They just needed to learn how to play together, and that was pretty much it. That's kind of going to be the difference now going.
They had the experience. Right? Yeah. They had the experience.
They've already had experience of playing. Now it's just figuring out how to play.
Right.
So they're going to, look bad in the beginting of the year and get in certain situations and teams because, they make a bad pass or an errant turnover just because they don't know where that guy's going to be, right? Well, when you get a team like ours going in this year, not only are you dealing with that because they're brand new playing with each other, but they're going to make freshman mistakes pretty much throughout the whole year. And they're going to have to figure that out. And there's going to be nuances of the college game that they have to learn and be coached up in. And it just makes just a huge difference. Now, you are going to get some teams with a bunch of transfers, just guys that just don't fit, don't blend, don't get along, and it might not work. But that was the difference between this year, between these teams like Pittsburgh and Miami and some of these older teams with graduate. And they just had to figure out how to play with each other. They already knew how to play basketball.
Yeah.
So hopefully, we can retain the majority of these guys.
That's Pitt.
Help Red Archer. Yeah. It's Pitt. It's NC State. It's Miami.
Look at Cape over there at Pitt. They were talking about ousting that dude. Now he goes dips in the transfer portal and he's a hero. He's a hero for 1 year.
Coach of the year. ACC Coach of the Year. So
yeah. So from what he did, but that's what the transfer portal allows you to do. It allows you to put together an all-star cast for a year and see what you can do with it.
Yep.
And I like that dynamic. But
there's a little bit of a dynamic, and you got to pick and choose in how you want to build your roster, because you can't go, I think, too far one way or another.
Well, he did though, and that's the thing. How do you phase back in some of the recruiting aspect?
That's what they're going to have to figure out, because then you get stuck in that spiral or that cycle of having to get 4, 5, 6 transfers every single year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think that's part of the older generation, the older coaches. They want to be able to recruit. Recruiting was a tool. Get these guys, build them up, and have them grow as a team, and only have to fill in a couple guys left and right. You build a program through recruiting and through coaching. You know what I mean? And now that's pretty much gone. You could do it, but every year you could have teams that go from the basement to the NCAA tournament just because they got the right guys.
Yeah, we likened it to putting together a TBD team. Yep. You go out there and you find the best talent you can and who's willing to play for what kind of money, and then you put together a team. That's it. It's what they're doing. And to say they bought teams is not absurd. It's not an absurd thing to say. And any thoughts to make it an absurd thing to say is just gaslighting you. That's all it is. It's pure gaslighting. And if I'm coaching, I know I'm retiring, I don't even walk it back. Because what he said was accurate. His mistake was naming member teams specifically. So anyway.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That was the mistake.
That was the mistake. 'Cause everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah.
It's just why do you got to do it to the teams we haven't played yet?
Right. Yeah. True. Exactly. Let's see. Where are we? Top fan, Steve. Better than last year, not by much. A lot of questions about next season. Sadly, our leader has stepped down. Yes. Not by much. That's true. It wasn't by much. I think we at least won an ACC game last year, if I remember right. No, we didn't. Yeah, we did. And then we lost against Duke.
Yep.
So anyway,
beat Florida State.
Right. Michael, we had the talent to be a tournament team. The ACC was horrible this year. I totally disagree with that. I think the ACC is competitive, and I'll always probably that's my fallback, but I don't think they're horrible this year. Well, again, we thought this last year, or some thought this last year, and they ended up 2 of them in the Final Four, and they ended up 4 of them in the Elite Eight. Isn't that right, Joe? Last year? They had 50% of the Final Four and 50% of the Elite Eight last year?
No, I don't think they had 50% of the elite. I think it was 3 out of 8.
Was it 3? Okay, all right. Well, it was 3, and then it was 2.
Yep.
So, I mean...
It's going to be similar this year, too.
Yeah, I mean, and they didn't... And many of them didn't make it. The reason that we see some of what we see... Look what Boston College has done lately. Like, where the hell did they come from? I mean, they didn't do anything tonight, but they came on... they came on strong at the end of the year in the regular season.
So did Georgia Tech.
Yeah. True. Michael. Oh, I'm still on Michael. It's a shame that we couldn't put it together. Absolutely. As a society, we have to stop letting 80-year-olds be in position of authority. Well, I agree with that to some extent, actually. I think that's great advice. Maybe competency tests? That's a great idea. It seems like that could be a good idea, right? But I think coach is all there. I really do. For a 78-year-old guy, right? 78. He's pretty with it. He might be a little bit slower, but he's still as witty. He knows what the hell he's talking about, and he can break down the game for you pretty coherently. Unlike some people. So. There's that.
Yeah, and there's a difference between coaching a basketball team and having your finger on the world board 3 button.
Yeah, and just pretending to push it halfway down. That's a problem. You'll have to excuse...
Well, I mean, we all know that he's not strong enough to push it. So someone else is pushing that button.
He needs to sit on it. I hope everybody understood what Joe said. I don't. Joe is in a Faraday cage, so you have to forgive him. He's a little glitchy sometimes. You're a little glitchy right now. That's all, Joe. Just so you know. It's all good. Most of it's coming through. Let's see. Let's head over to Twitter. At JCM Mayot, James C. End of an era, optimistic, nervous, and excited about the Autry era. I know it will take a little time. Wish Jim's ride off into the sunset was on better terms. Yeah, and I just, speaking of better terms, Joe, you didn't touch on the whole aspect of the kind of the shot he took at the school. I mean, you think they just want him out of the picture totally? He was basically saying they never even came to him about negotiating for next year at all. I mean, he's putting that stuff out there on purpose.
Of course. Well, I mean, it's not. That's him.
Yeah, I know. Because
Jeff Goodman on Twitter said, "There's no bullshit with Boeheim."
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to tell you how it is.
Right.
So, I mean, he's putting the pressure. He's putting the pressure on them. He said, you're talking to the wrong guy. Obviously, I think it's a situation where, and again, it doesn't say retire. It just says he's not returning, right? So I don't know if it's a situation where he's trying to work something out to find some type of position in the athletic department or something like that with the school. But I don't see a situation where he goes and coaches another school.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. No. But I saw one headline that said he was out at SU, something to that effect, which is like, I don't know. You could read into out. He's out, But
I just hope that that the university handles it correctly.
I hope so too, because I will lose a ton of respect, and some of that respect is already gone anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
just being honest.
And we used to talk about he deserves to go out on his own term. He deserves to do this. And after the last 2 years, and he's getting a little bit older and everything, and he's even some of the things he's talked about, the way the media and this generation of kid, just NIL, everything, like. You can tell that he's getting frustrated with it. And, we talked about how he's going to have to adapt if we wanted to compete. And who knows if he wants to do that. But at the same time, if they just stonewalled him and this is your last year, your contract, and they don't even talk to him about it, then I'd have a problem with that, because Jim Boeheim is at least owed the conversation of, hey, look, it's been a good run. We want to go and just execute the plan we talked about, and we have this position for you at the university would you like to take it so you can still be a part of what's going on?
I mean, he could still help with recruiting and things, being a part of that team and stuff like that. So I mean, and plus, I mean, he's a freaking staple, dude. Okay, look, there was a couple of times when I was a kid where I seen Jim Boeheim, and it was like some of my that was like my first time seeing famous person. You know, you watch him on TV and as a kid, and then you go out to eat and he's there, or you go to the mall or the airport one time and he was there. And I mean, he's a staple at Syracuse, dude. He's a staple. He is Syracuse, and he embodies it. He, like he said, you know, I live in Syracuse. I lived here my whole life. I hope I live here until I die. And some people say that's a fault of mine, you know, which is true, because it's like, I got the hell out of there. Joe got the hell out of there. And it takes a special person to do it, man, and own it like he did. He is Syracuse. Jim Boeheim is Syracuse. And that's all there is to it. Luke in the green room says the ACC isn't at the same level this year, though. I mean, I would agree they're not at like the same level that they have been in sometimes in the past, say 5 years, right? So I would agree with that. But to say they're down or they suck or whatever, you know, some of these other things that they're overrated, that's not true. It's just not true. The ACC is always going to be excellent. It's always going to be an excellent basketball conference, and the football conference is getting better and better, I think, every year too. And if you really want to dig into the lacrosse conference for ACC, is freaking amazeballs. Really is. This past few years.
Oh, I mean, but I know that there has been, like, I know North Carolina's athletic director and Florida State, they've already talked about
leaving
openly that the ACC needs to do something. We need to do something to try to get to where, you know, SEC, Big Ten, that type of stuff, because we're just a little behind there. So they've already kind of openly
came out and
said,
super conferences.
we don't want to leave, but we need to do something different. Otherwise, we probably would look to do something different.
Jesse.
It's kind of how I read it.
From the green room, unmute yourself, buddy. If you'd like to say something, go ahead. Jesse. Is he there? Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, Jesse, unmute yourself. There you go. Oh, hold on. Where is he, folks? All right, there we go.
He's
Jesse.
lost up there.
No, I gotcha. My bad, dude. Hello. How you doing, buddy?
Hi. Doing well. How are you?
Good.
Pretty sad. I'm actually very sad about that.
Did it take you by surprise a little bit?
I mean, like you said, from the press conference against last Wake Forest game, there's some hints dropped, and it kind of sounded like a retirement speech almost a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what he said on the court, by the way, and I never heard it, but apparently he had alluded to some things there too. So,
yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad. It is sad. And obviously he's been coach your whole life too. And I think the hardest part is just like the idea that he goes out with the way he did. You know, it'd have been nice to see some wins, some more time on the court, and still not knowing if he's retiring, but have him have that success and be able to do something, or see if he could do something in any tournament. I mean, I almost didn't care if it was the NIT tournament. You know what I mean? Just some extra games to be able to showcase. But the last win at home, though, that was good.
I was super optimistic about this group. I think they fit into what Jim does really well, and with his defense. I think that I don't know. I'm not as optimistic anymore now that he's not the coach.
What about if everybody stays?
I don't know what the system will be. Kind of. There's
a lot of questions.
That's what scares me. Jim's defense was top 10 or top 30 the last 10 out of 15 years, and the 4 years that he wasn't top 30 have been Joe years, and then the last one before that was another 6'2" guard, the Gillen year. So it would have been really interesting to see what the team would have been like post maybe the two seniors on the team. I think I was pretty confident they would be like a top 20 team or top, like, I don't know, Final Four team. They had that kind of caliber potential to them, but I don't know anymore. I'm not as optimistic as I once was.
Let's address one thing real quick, because you had plenty of criticisms. Jesse, not a stranger to the fan feedback. So, you had a lot of criticisms for Joe, and we talked about people going out kind of not so elegantly, I guess you could say. What did you think about, Joe's last moments, possibly in a Syracuse uniform?
I thought he was a lot better this year. He's been a lot more consistent on offense.
I would agree.
I still think that you can be a good player and not fit the team well. I don't think that he fit in defensively. And just its size, I think, and athleticism, that's really it. I think there was 2 or 3 years ago where he preseason went on Devendorf's podcast, and he said that he was really thinking hardcore about going to Boston College, and I think he would have probably been really, really, really good at Boston College, because that's right after Kai Feldman or whatever his name was left, and I mean Joe's basically like him but better, I think.
Oh, that's interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Boeheim really only made 2 mistakes in my lifetime, and one of them was, hot take, I think Kadari probably should have been the starting point guard that year. Hot take here, I think Kadari's better than Judah, honestly.
I don't know if I agree with that one.
Well,
what's Kadari done this year? Because I haven't even heard his name.
So that's kind of my counter. He went to Seton Hall, but
I know that.
Hall is not Syracuse.
Okay.
They're not. He was a top 5 defensive efficiency player at Syracuse in very limited minutes. He was top 10 in steals in the league, playing 15 to 20 minutes a game or something like that. Plus, he just had 2 extra inches than Judah, and he was shooting a better 3-point percentage and all kinds of other stuff. So, I don't know. It's probably close. It's not a big difference, but I think that would have kind of helped out a little bit. But I mean, we went to the Sweet 16 that year. And then the only mistake I thought he made was maybe not playing some of the younger guys earlier in the season against some of the cupcakes. But I mean, I understand that too.
Yeah, I think that probably has a lot to do with where they were in the season. If you got a Quadir and a Malik and a Chris Bell where they are now, I think it's, in hindsight, if they were playing like they were now, it'd be a totally different story. But to just throw them out there and flounder, I just don't know if it was going to be something that was going to be in the best interest of the team. And plus, a couple of those games, you got the Justin Taylor run against Bryant, and where he had to come in, and you saw him here's the thing: the leashes were short this year because he had so many other options that you just didn't have much time to. You didn't have many opportunities to make mistakes this year.
And we had a lot of non-conference games that were close.
Good. What, Joe? Joe's on a lag.
I was just going to say that. Sorry, we had a lot of non-conference games that were close. So I mean, I think a lot of those instances he was just trying to get the W. Wasn't really worried about bringing in everybody and stuff. Like that. So, but I like what Jesse's brought this up a couple times in fan feedback, and I think what he's alluding to more or less is that. Our offense, I think, has been better in recent years, but when we've been successful, our defense has been good. And it's just, it hasn't been. And then Joe is really, again, not great at the top of that 2-3 zone. And Kadari is a perfect fit. And I think that Judah actually plays it well. But, yeah, I mean, I think that first thing we need to do is worry about retaining some of these guys, especially Judah and Jesse, to try to get him back another year, and then really just shoring up this defense. But I know that with what's been going on, and everybody kind of talking about this 2-3 zone, I just don't know how long that leash is going to be for Red.
Yeah, I imagine, though, you look around the Syracuse sports leagues or teams, and I don't know about Ian McIntyre, the champ, but, you got Kayla Trainer, right? SU. Gary Gate, SU. Babers, obviously not. You got Red now, SU. So you have all of these legit black, SU. You have all of these people, but they're semi-successful, right? So I think that he will get more time than maybe you might think. I don't think it's going to be too short. But I just wonder what kind of influence, just in general, that some of the pressure the school faced as far as the fans go. With social media these days, I just feel like fans got too much say in certain things. And the mob mentality, and I think people pay too much attention to some of that stuff that is on social media, and they take it as reality. I mean, these are just fans being blowhards most of the time, but you see it in other sports too. It's not just this situation. It could not be anything to do with it, but you hear the clamor. It goes from clamor on social media to all of the local talk shows in Syracuse, and it just reverberates off the walls, and it's all that they talk about is Jim Boeheim retiring. Every time there's a bad loss or there's an issue or he gets hammered on national media for telling a kid he's got a shit-eating grin on his face, it just echoes constantly, and it becomes like make mountains out of molehills constantly. And it seems like there's people in Syracuse in the media who like to fan those flames and like to keep that stuff rolling like a snowball down a hill. And it's what they do. And I think that to think that there's no pressure there from the school having to deal with some of that stuff, I'm not buying it. I think it has definitely something to do with it. It's just the era we live in. I think it's dumb.
Agreed.
So Jesse, we can bring back. I mean, Samir could come back, Joe could come back, Jesse could come back, Judah can come back. You want them all to, and if not, who would you like to stay, and who would you like to maybe move on?
Ooh, I hate like cutting people, but I would definitely bring back Jesse if he wants to, but gosh, I kind of want to see him go to the NBA. Like, I think he does have an opportunity to, maybe be like an undrafted or second round guy, but like I look at him and then I look at like other guys that kind of got like undrafted, like Cole Spider, for instance, last year. He's kind of like in the Lakers farm system, but like Jesse's, I think, better last year than Cole was, like at most points of the season.
Cole came on so late last year. That was the problem. Jesse's been good all year.
Yeah, obviously I'd like to have Jesse and Judah back. And really, I don't think it's the end of the world if Judah goes. I think that having guys in the NBA do well that represent Syracuse, that's kind of a good look, good image. I don't know.
Agree.
Yeah, I think
maybe that might help more Syracuse guys, like recruits, come in. I don't know, some bigger names and stuff, if we actually have guys that are doing stuff in the league.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. All right, Jesse, don't be a stranger, buddy. All right, I appreciate you coming on.
All right, thanks.
All right, man.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah, if I've got to pick, I've got to have Jesse and I've got to have Judah back. And I love Benny. I just do. Like I said, not worried about Quadier. But that's the core. I think there's obviously going to be some guys that go, and I think that, and obviously like Malik Brown, but I don't think we got to worry about Malik Brown, right?
No.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think he's going to be sensational. That guy's going to be great. But
yeah, I think so too.
You've got to play the portal this year, this off season. You've got to find a 3, right? You had a number of issues there, and just see what see what you can do with that, and I guess all of that hinges on who leaves and who stays, and it's not gonna be too long before we find all this stuff out too.
No, I mean that's gonna be interesting, right? Because Samir, I mean, he's already had his free transfer, right? So like, if he transfers, he's gonna have to sit out a year and all that other stuff, and this is hometown of Syracuse. I don't see him going anywhere unless he just decides to try to go professional and play somewhere else, but. When I look at Joe, I don't really see a situation where I just think that he's pretty much peaked. You know, he's reached his potential, and I don't see a reason why he should have to come back. The only reason why I'd say Jesse is because, you know, like what Boeheim said, he just scratched the surface, and you could even see. I mean, last year you could see the offensive potential, but he got in foul trouble. This year there was the offensive potential, and he was pretty good at staying out of foul trouble, I think, compared to last year. So
absolutely, much better.
So
shit calls this year got him in more trouble than he got himself in.
Yeah, right. So imagine if he just gets a little bit stronger, a little bit better on defense, and he can put a little, you know, mid-range jumper in his game, right? So there's things that he can help with. I do think that he can make the NBA, as Jesse alluded to. I don't think he will if he goes this year. So.
At Drew Cuse on Twitter, I cussed a lot, I cheered a lot, cussed a lot more. I don't know who's leaving or who's coming back next year. I know I'll be here to cuss and cheer like I do every season. I like that. Perfect. One more and we shall call it. At T-Dot Taramigi. I'm really sad for Boeheim that his last year will be looked upon this way, highlighted by the last 2 years being the worst of it. He truly deserved to go out higher, but life ain't fair. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was saying earlier. I mean, you want those storybook endings, you know, Buddy goes and elbows a dude in the gut last year, and that's the end of his career, right? You know, that's not even that dude's character. It was a bad decision, and it cost him a game against Duke in the ACC tournament, unfortunately. And I mean, I think all of us that were fans last year felt it, and mostly because of the way it ended, not because of the fact that he just was not. If he came back, it would be totally different, right, Joe? I mean, it just sucks. And like I said, nothing's perfect, and unfortunately, this is how it goes. And like Tyler said, the last 2 years, being the worst of it, I totally agree with that. I said that earlier. I think it is. It's the worst back-to-back years, I think, in his career, and now he's retired. So. Well,
and I mean, we talked about that, right? Is that there's been a lot of things that have changed. I mean, think about that. He went from sanctions, and then right after we get off of sanctions, COVID. Mm-hmm. And then, there's a free COVID year. Oh, now you can get the transfer without sitting out. Oh, now there's NIL money, right? On top of the fact that he's an old school guy anyway, and a lot of these kids don't want to get coached like that. So I just think that, you know, sometimes, you know, you just kind of outgrow stuff. You know, you don't adapt as things keep changing. And what he's done has been successful. So why would he? Right? I mean, he's our coach, and I think he's just gotten to a point where, I mean, he's ready. And whether or not they haven't talked to him about it or anything like that, I think that he was ready to go anyway. You know, I think that more or less what he talked about today was, I think, more his frustration of the lack of conversation and communication between the athletic director and what's really going to go on and what's going to happen. So, yeah, it was tough day. Like I said, wanted them to win, then they don't. And then I immediately start thinking about, okay, well, is Judah coming back? Is Joe coming back? Like, I start thinking about the uncertainty of just the players with Jim Boeheim coming back, right? And then all of a sudden, Jim Boeheim's not coming back. And so now it's really just like, okay, so what's going to happen? So,
yeah.
Could end up being a quiet offseason, and it's just kind of just falls in line, status quo. Most people come back, you get a transfer or two, and it's Coach Autry's first year, and then we'll see what happens. But, you know, if we lose all four guys that we could possibly lose and then get some transfer, you know, people that transfer out, then I don't know what next year looks like, man. It's more the uncertainty, and it is kind of like it's nerve-wracking. I think that was really the worst part about it.
Yeah.
At the end of the season, that's right where my brain goes. Like, well, who are we going to have next year? What's it going to look like? Who can come back? Who can't?
Let's not forget this one thing, okay? And that is that Jesse Edwards was 100% in 3-point attempts this year. 100%, guys. All right? That's big time. So, yeah, I hope he comes back. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. And like I said,
That's it? That's all you got? Come on, Joe. What the hell?
Dude, you're right. You're right. You're right. Okay.
Happy birthday, Joe. Oh, Joe. Joe just had the shittiest birthday of birthdays today. And we should all just send him prayers and love because, yeah, it was a bad enough day, let alone turning 40 and then having a shit fall on your head twice within the next couple hours. So
I was wearing a hat, man. So.
Anyway, thank God.
Look, I went out to dinner with my family, had a great time. It was a good time, made up for it. So
yeah,
I'm all right. I'll be all right. I know. The podcast always helps me, gentlemen. So, and ladies. Oh, absolutely.
I'm looking in the green room though. It's all gentlemen in there. So
it's almost like a venting situation. So
it's venting. It's, they don't get more off the cuff than the day of the game because there's really no prep. All you just do is watch a game and listen to a press conference. And to be honest with you, I didn't watch much. I watched the game. It was on, but it was on my phone in my office and I was being productive. So it was one of those things where.
Good save, just in case your boss listens.
No, he probably knows. He knows I'm productive. He knows. He can tell. I hope. I probably wouldn't have a job right now if he didn't think I was. But anyway, I could have went home and watched it if I really wanted to. If I really wanted to, I could have. But no, I'm dedicated. I stayed at work. I did my thing.
Oh, God.
And, it's just dedication. I didn't get in the truck and do job site visits, with the game on. That's a no-no. Don't want the game on while you're driving. Can't do that. So I stayed in the office where I was safe. Mm-mm. And I worked diligently. And it, hard work pays off, Joe. Try it sometime.
Oh, yeah. So hey, we got to buy, sell, or hold. We got to buy, sell, or hold in the green room.
Do we? Okay. All right. Before we go, what do we got? Oh, our boy David. Hold on. Time out. Yeah. David, we love you. I think David has been in every green room that we've had the entire basketball season. So shout out to David for that. He is the captain of the green room. Mr. Super Dave. Buy, sell, or hold. Autry has back-to-back mediocre seasons and retires after the 2069-70 season after 47 incredible years. Sell. It's not happening again. It can't. Can it? It can't.
Look.
Does that mean we get a championship in like around 2050? It's a long ways away.
God, I know. I don't know. All I know is that I'll say hold, but I won't be here to talk about it if it does happen anyway.
Why?
So
it's only it's quite a ways away.
47 years. The number's in the sentence. John.
Yeah, I'm saying for the championship. For the championship. For the championship's in 50. It's only 27 more years. But yeah, we won't see this through, David. No. We won't see that through. I doubt. Look, I'm not making any predictions on Red right now. Look, I'm not making any predictions.
If we are alive at that point, we're not going to be doing the podcast.
Here's the question. Does the world even last that long? I mean, have you guys seen the rate that this place is going right now? I mean, we'll be lucky if it's not hellfire and brimstone within the next couple of years, okay? Sulfur from heaven just raining down like it did in Sodom and Gomorrah. Look.
Thanks.
Still possible.
Shining some more light on my birthday. Appreciate it.
David says still podcasting through it, though. Dave, I got news for you. Hell no. Actually, I'll probably have more time by then. Now that I think about it, probably will. It makes happy 87th birthday, Joe. David just okay. David's on a roll. He's on a roll. He is.
How about that?
He is.
It's not funny.
It's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny, Jim. Chill out, okay? I know it's not your day either, Jim. All right, you just ruined Joe's birthday though, so chill. Don't tell us when to laugh. All right.
It's all right, Jim. Not everything's about you, buddy.
All right. That is going to do it for us here on the Cuse Nation podcast. Look, thank you, everybody who tuned in all basketball season. We appreciate you. Going to take a little time off. We'll be back. Don't know when, but we'll be coming back. We'll be coming back with substance. Thank you to everybody who hung out in the green room with us and listened all year. We appreciate you. Love you. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.